Good morning. Make sure you, well, this does me. We are having technical difficulties right now, so we may get some reverb and we apologize to those on Zoom. But they've spent at least 45 minutes trying to figure out what's going wrong. So make sure you have all of your electronic devices turned on silent, airplane mode, etc. I'm Sue Walton, and I'm going to read to you from a book by Arthur Dobrin called Spelling God with Two O's. And this is a thing on faith. And the first quote he says is, faith is the greatest call of all, the call to faith in people. And he asks, how do you maintain your faith in human possibilities? Faith is an expression of hope for something better. More than a wish, it is closer to a belief, but not quite. A belief is rooted in the mind. Faith is based in the heart. We act in faith when there is no guarantee, no certainty. No one knows what kind of life an infant will have, yet people continue to have children. No one can know how life with our mates will turn out, yet we continue to have faith our relationships will last a lifetime. Faith speaks the language of the heart. It is an expression of hope that lasts beyond the conscious mind. All that we hold precious rest upon a faith in people, their potential not fulfilled. The evidence of history points us in a different direction. The world is full of ugliness, brutality, and injustices. And yet there is also tenderness, kindness, and concern. And that takes the bigger part of our lives. Without faith in ourselves, we would hold ourselves cheap, and without a faith in others, we could not live as free people. From a faith in human beings flows trust and goodwill. This is the water that quenches the parched souls. And I'll end with a comment from Samuel Coleridge. There is one art which man should be the master, the art of reflection. We're going to begin today with a hymn number 137 in Worship and Song. Huh. Okay. Okay. All right. And we'll start with announcements. Anybody on Zoom have an announcement?
I do. This is Dinah Geiger, and I'm helping Teresa this month. She has some family obligations, so I'm helping her with Family Promise. Our week to supply meals is March 27th to April 1st, and she's going to put a sign-up sheet in the dining room next Sunday. So please take a look at that and sign up so we can get that all the slots filled out. Also, Family Promise is wanting to hire a new position, and it would be for a director of management operations for programs and facilities. And you would be working with the executive director, who's Julie Randall. So if you know anybody who might be interested in that, please contact the Resource Center, or if you ask me, I can help you get the information. Thank you.
Anybody else on Zoom have an announcement?
Hello, this is Bill Smith. I just wanted to thank Jim McClung for replacing all the parking lot lights. Probably you won't be able to tell considering it's sunshiny out, but we now have lights to light our parking lot every night.
Good, because we do not want to run into the river that flows, or the creek that flows near to the meeting house. Anyone else on Zoom? Okay. Anybody here in the meeting have an announcement to make?
Hi, Jeff Gabbard. This is follow up to an email that went out earlier this week. Quaker Earth Care Witness is having a book event for author Cherise Bach. She spoke at Western Yearly Meeting last summer. Library committee bought 3 copies of the book that are in our library. The event's going to be March 14th on Zoom. If you got the email this week, there's a link there to register if you're interested. And if you didn't get it, let me know and I can get it to you. After the book launch, there may be a book discussion group, and some sucker got talked into leading that discussion group. So we will have some influence there. So anyway, it's called A Quaker Ecology is the book.
Hi, this is Becky Horton, and I am do 2 announcements for outreach. The first one is Kunai Food Pantry is acquiring a new home, a new permanent home. They won't have to be moving around anymore. They're supposed to take possession of it on April 1st, and I have pictures that Mabel sent to me, and it's definitely a fixer-upper. They're going to need a lot of financial support. Mabel's going to write some grants, and she's having 2 fundraisers, and I happen to find them on my phone so I can tell you. There's going to be a bean dinner on March 18th, and their third annual barbecue cook-off on May 6th. So that's what's going on with the new pantry, and it's going to be wonderful. They won't have to worry about if they're going to be asked to leave or if they have to move somewhere. And the second announcement is I see everyone got Phil's email about bringing food back. Our pantry is open back up. What I would like to emphasize is Mabel has said that the things that she runs the quickest are what she calls dry products, like mac and cheese, stuffing, mashed potatoes, those kinds of things. I mean, obviously all other food is welcome, and thank you so much for donating, but she specifically said those items go quickly. Thank you.
Okay, here.
On that same note, I read something in a news feed this week. I'm Joanne Gulley, by the way, and I am going to read this on behalf of Outreach. This week, a boost to the SNAP program, which is what we used to call food stamps, is expiring in 32 states, impacting more than 40 million Americans. When the pandemic hit, Congress passed a measure that gave households at least $95 extra a month to spend on food. One study found that this helped keep 4.2 million people out of poverty. Now, this extra benefit is ending at a time when grocery bills are going up. So when you're at Kroger, Aldi, Walmart, any of those places, if you can donate to our food pantry, that would be great. The second thing that I need to want to talk about is that Jim Mulholland, who is the director of Coco Da, is going to be with us next Sunday. Jim will be speaking during chat room. They do a lot of work in Central America. And then he's also going to be speaking for about 5 to 7 minutes during meeting for worship. And what he's going to be talking about, focusing on, is the scholarship program that we have been involved with, we being Fairfield Friends Meeting, of being able to send kids on for, is it high school, Philip? High school. And we as a meeting have sponsored several kids to be able to do this. I'm sorry? A dozen children. So Jim will be here to talk about that important work next week, and we will also be accepting collections for that scholarship program to help those kids that otherwise would not have a chance to go on to high school. So that's it for now. Thank you.
I'm Cindy Striedelmeyer, and I wanted to let you know that you have a job. If you remember pre-pandemic, can you remember that? Right before that, we had a concert by a great vocal quartet called Windborne. They sing all kinds of songs, especially from different folk traditions, but we also enjoyed the things that they had researched in social justice issues for centuries. And they do great music, create amazing harmonies. They are coming back here on April 21st. And if you heard them the first time, your job is to find someone who did not hear them and tell them how great they were. You can even put one of these in their hands. They're out on the table and as you come in. And it's on April 21st in the evening. On top of that, it's a benefit for Family Promise of Hendricks County. So we're really looking forward to hearing them and also making a difference for Family Promise in this way. So on your way out, look for one of these, put it in your own hands, put it in somebody else's hands, and I'll be pestering you for every week until then.
Anybody else? Yeah, okay.
Good morning, everyone. This is my regular announcement or a little bit early announcement maybe, that in 2 weeks on, oh gosh, is it the 19th? So thank you. It's the 19th is the meeting for business, 7 p.m. on Zoom, and the links will come out shortly before that. Thank you.
Some new
Yeah, I see some new faces here. If you would like a name tag and you don't have one, there's a sheet out there next to the name tags right on outside the doors here. Put your name down, and I'll be glad to make you a name tag.
Thank you.
And I suppose I should clarify, we didn't actually live together in the same house. We were neighbors. Let us pray, friends. Oh God, we thank you for this day, for the sunshine, the warmth in our faces. And we remember, oh God, that all warmth, all goodness, all light and love is a gift from you. May we live always in the radiance and presence of your good spirit. And may our friendship with you cause us to love others more deeply, more fully, more radically than we otherwise would be inclined. Spring up in us, O God, every noble and generous thought, that we might bless this world as you have blessed us. Amen. Well, I was thinking this week about this boy named Matt, who was in my catechism class growing up in the Catholic Church. Matt, though appearing human, was thought by many to be demonic. When Father McLaughlin at the Catholic Church gave a sermon in which he described the devil, everyone in the room turned and looked at Matt. Here's how bad Matt was, that once when I was standing behind him in the communion line, I could smell sulfur. And when I looked closely at his head, I saw the nubbins of little horns poking through his fire-singed hair. Now, Danville was a small town in those days, so I knew Matt's parents and even his grandparents. One day when I was with my mother at Kroger's, we bumped into his grandmother, Matt's grandma, so my mother stopped to talk with her. And his grandmother looked at me and smiled and said, "You look about the same age as our sweet little Matt." I didn't know who she was talking about because the Matt I knew was diabolical, like Norman Bates in Psycho, which had been filmed the very year Matt was born. A coincidence? I don't think so. It was one of my earliest experiences with the notion of contradiction. To me, Matt was the Prince of Darkness who gave me wedgies, lifting me high in the air until my underwear tore. But to his grandmother, Matt was someone else entirely. He was sweet and cuddly and snuggled in her lap while she read him stories. How in the world could we be talking about the same person? It was a mystery to me. I feel that same little disconnect, that same discrepancy when I hear some people talk about God. In one moment, God curses. In the next moment, God blesses. The ancient polytheists had it easier when it came to God. When you worship many gods and the flood carries your house away, you can shake your fist at the God of rain. And then when the sun comes out and dries everything up, you can fall to your knees and say thank you and praise the God of sun. But when you have only one God, that one God must contain all of the divine activity. And before long, you can't help but wonder how it is that the same God can be responsible for everything that happens. How is that possible? If your child dies in a car accident, you wonder, why would God do that to me? Why would God do that? But then a few years later, your grandchild is born and you hold her in your arms and you thank God for her precious, beautiful life. Notice how the exact same God cursed you and blessed you. How does that make sense? Last week we took notice of the theological illiteracy in our culture, which we pointed out can have very troubling effects. One of which is Christian nationalism, this noxious notion that white American Christians are uniquely loved and blessed by God, that white American Christians, especially males, because after all, we're the ones who dreamed this up, that we should enjoy rights and privileges others don't, that it is appropriate to write hate into law, thereby using the considerable weight of government to further their theological and political objectives, all the while making their hatred seem virtuous and noble. This is the problem with Christian nationalism. Its ability to make others think that they work and speak on behalf of God. We can challenge this effort, of course, in the political arena by not voting for people who believe this. But it must also be challenged in the spiritual arena, since their understanding of God is at the root of their sacrilege. Their image of God is not just wrong, it is dangerous and must be countered by good theology. The only solution to the ravages of bad theology is good theology. John Shelby Spong, the writer, used to say that there was no such a thing as liberal theology or conservative theology. There's only good theology and there's bad theology. And good theology is that which brings out the best in us. Bad theology is that which diminishes us and makes us worse than we would otherwise be. The only solution to bad theology is good theology. So today I want to talk about what God cannot do. Sometimes you hear someone say that God can do anything. If something bad happens to us or is about to happen to us, they urge us to have faith, telling us God can do anything. There's a woman in my extended family who writes this on people's Facebook page whenever they post about some difficulty they're having. God can do anything, she says, then adds a little smiley face with praying hands. After she writes that God can do anything, I always want to write, no, God can't. No, God can't. We must disabuse ourselves of the belief instilled in us since childhood that God can do anything, that God is all powerful. Because just as soon as we were taught that, we were also taught something else about God, that God is all loving, that God is all knowing. This is the trinity of bad theology. God is all loving, all powerful, and all knowing. And when we are taught that, and when we absorb that and believe that, it causes untold human misery. After all, if God is all loving and all knowing and all powerful, then why are there bullies or worse, why does God allow starvation? Why doesn't God do something about that? Or the wholesale slaughter of Native Americans, or slavery, or the Holocaust? Why does God seem to have this infuriating habit of entrusting beautiful, innocent babies to drug addicts and to alcoholics? Have you ever wondered that? Why? Formula doesn't work, does it? It makes no sense. If God has the power to stop such things, knew they were going to happen, and had the power to stop them, then God is not loving. I would have stopped it. You would have stopped it. But God didn't stop it. Who wouldn't stop those things? Well, apparently God. And if this is the case, then I say we should dispense with worshiping God, or admiring this God, or loving this God, or wanting to behave like this God. But there is another option, and that is this, that we can re-examine our theology and consider the possibility that maybe some of the things we've been told about God aren't true. We can give up this fantasy about God's power. God's power. Why are we so enamored with that? I think it's because if we were God, that's what we would want. We'd want power. It's almost as if the early church fathers sat around a table thinking this stuff up. Can't you just see them pushing back from dinner, glasses of wine in their hands, feeling slightly buzzed and philosophical the way we get? What would you do if you were God? One of them would ask. Oh, I'd want the power to make people do what I wanted. Another would say, yeah, that's a good one. I like that. Another would say, I'd want to have knowledge of the future. Well, that's smart. That would sure come in handy. And then one of the church fathers, a quiet kind of person the others often overlooked, said, if I were God, I would be all loving. The others thought of that for a moment, and one of them said, nah, too hard. Let's go with power and knowledge. And so here we are, all these years later, saddled with a theology that has driven more people to atheism than any other reason. Not to mention, made countless people miserable, people whose lives have been one long, constant struggle, only to be told it was God's will, that God wanted it that way. We must lose our enthrallment with power. Forget power. Forget knowing the future. Keep love. Keep love. Let us see what love can do, said the Quaker William Penn. Not let us see what power can do. Not let us see what omniscience can do. Let us see what love can do. Love is the only tool at God's disposal. It is the only note God sings. Not power, not foresight, just love. In our life together, in our lives in this world, let's do what God does and see what love can do. Friends, let us stand and sing together. Hymn number 246, I've Got Peace Like a River.
We're about to sing this with gusto. Do it again. So.
As if we planned it. And friends, we announced this week that we would resume our food collection, and so our young friends will gather that up now. If you brought that, you can hand it to them, and they will bring it up front here. So just work the crowd, kids, and pick up the food. We'll get this out.
Where are the rest of the baskets?
Is there a basket out in the hallway? Okay, you can just go out there and get it. And you can just go collect it and bring it up here, kids. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Jonas. Thank you, kids. Thank you very much. And thank you, friends, for your generosity. So, Matt, a P.S. I was having lunch 2 weeks ago with a man I've known almost all my life, and we were talking about growing up in Danville, and I mentioned Diabolical Matt. And he said, Matt is my cousin, which I did not know. And then he said, you would have been diabolical too. if you had had Matt's father for a father. So friends, whenever we see people who believe in ways we find troubling, just remember there is always a history there. There is always a history. The proper response then is not to hate, but to love the hate out of them. I asked my friend, I said, did the little horns keep growing? And he said no, that Matt met a wonderful person and they had children. And Matt didn't want to do to his children what had been done with him. And so he became a very loving man. And that can happen. We bear witness to that in our own lives. So friends, whenever you are treated with hate, just remember that always has an origin. That always begins somewhere, and do all you can to make sure it never begins with you. Turn and greet friends.